The massive holographic display in the United Earth Defense Command Center flickered with an ominous message. Admiral James Stone stood straight-backed before the projection, his weathered face illuminated by the pale blue light. The alien figure on the screen towered over him, a representative of the Galactic Council, with gleaming silver skin and multiple sets of eyes. "This is your final warning, humans," the Council member's voice boomed through the chamber. "Submit to Galactic Council authority within 48 Earth hours, or face immediate military action. Your rapid expansion through the galaxy cannot continue unchecked." Admiral Stone's jaw tightened. In just 50 years since discovering faster-than-light travel, humanity had colonized over 30 star systems. The old powers of the galaxy hadn't expected such rapid growth from a primitive species. "The Council's patience has ended," the alien continued. "You will halt all colonial expansion, reduce your fleet by 70%, and accept Council oversight of all human territories. We await your response." The transmission cut off, leaving the command center in tense silence. Admiral Stone turned to face the gathered military and civilian leaders of the Terran Empire. "They think we'll roll over and submit," he said, his voice carrying across the room. "They don't understand humanity at all." President Maria Garcia stepped forward, her traditional business suit a stark contrast to the military uniforms around her. "The Council represents over 50 alien civilizations. Their combined fleet outnumbers ours 10 to 1. "Numbers aren't everything, Madam President," Admiral Stone replied. "While they've grown complacent over millennia of unchallenged rule, we've been innovating. Project Phoenix is ready." A quiet murmur spread through the room. Project Phoenix was humanity's most closely guarded secret, a revolutionary weapons system that could change the face of space warfare forever. "They've given us 48 hours, the Admiral continued. "That's 48 hours to activate our sleeper agents, position our fleets, and show the Council why humanity refuses to bow to tyrants." President Garcia studied the tactical displays showing Council fleet movements. They were already positioning for an attack, confident in their overwhelming numbers. She took a deep breath, knowing her next words would shape the future of human history. "Very well, Admiral. You have full authorization. Show them why humanity deserves its place among the stars." The next 48 hours saw the greatest mobilization in human history. Across 30 star systems, civilian ships were converted for military use. Hidden weapons platforms emerged from gaseous clouds and asteroid fields. The Terran fleet gathered in secret staging areas, guided by quantum communication channels the Council couldn't detect. Deep in classified facilities, Project Phoenix came online. Millions of tiny nanobots, each programmed with revolutionary AI, waited to be unleashed against the Council's mighty warships. As the deadline approached, Admiral Stone sent the Terran Empire's response to the Council, a single word that would echo through the galaxy. "No." The Council's response was immediate. Thousands of warships jumped into human-controlled space, their weapons charged. They expected a swift victory over an upstart species. They had no idea what humanity had in store for them. The battle for humanity's independence was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Council's massive fleet filled the void around Alpha Centauri, their ships gleaming like artificial stars. Leading the invasion force was High Commander Rax, considered the greatest military mind in the Council's 10,000-year history. He watched the tactical display with 4 of his eyes while his other 2 focused on status reports. "Primitive humans," he muttered. "They don't even maintain a defensive line. Their ships are scattered and disorganized." His executive officer approached with a report. "Sir, we're detecting unusual energy readings from several asteroid fields. Should we investigate?" "Irrelevant," Rax dismissed. "Launch the first wave. Let's show these upstarts the price of defiance." 500 Council warships surged forward, their energy weapons charging. They expected to find terrified humans fleeing before their mighty armada. Instead, they found empty space. In his command center on Earth, Admiral Stone watched the Council fleet's movement. "They took the bait," he said, allowing himself a small smile. "Launch Project Phoenix." Across the star system, seemingly innocent asteroids suddenly burst apart. Millions of tiny dots swarmed out like angry insects, humanity's secret weapon. Each nanobot was smaller than a coin but carried advanced AI and powerful quantum processors. The Council fleet sensors registered the swarm too late. The nanobots attached themselves to enemy ships, burrowing through their supposedly impenetrable armor. Within seconds, they reached vital systems and began their work. High Commander Rax watched in horror as his first wave of ships began to fail. Weapons systems crashed. Navigation computers went dark. Life support systems switched to emergency power. "Impossible," he roared. "How are they doing this?" The answer came in the form of a transmission from Admiral Stone. "While you relied on brute force, Commander, we focused on innovation. Your ships now belong to us." As if to prove his point, the disabled Council vessels began to move. Their weapons turned toward their own fleet. The nanobots had not just disabled the ships, they had taken control of them. "Second wave, destroy those compromised vessels," Rax ordered. But before they could fire, the real Terran fleet emerged from hiding. Human ships warped in from all directions, their designs unlike anything the Council had seen. They were smaller, faster, and far more maneuverable than the Council's lumbering warships. And they carried weapons that shouldn't have been possible for such a young species. "You see, Commander," Admiral Stone's voice came through again, "while you were busy maintaining your empire, we were preparing for this day. Every insult, every dismissal of humanity as primitive just motivated us to work harder. The battle that followed would be studied in military academies for centuries to come." The Terran fleet danced between the massive Council ships, their advanced targeting systems finding weak points that had never been challenged. The converted Council vessels, now controlled by Project Phoenix, attacked their former allies with devastating effect. On Earth, President Garcia watched the tactical display with a mixture of pride and concern. "Admiral, the Council still has thousands more ships in reserve. Can we hold?" "Watch, Madam President," Stone replied. "Here comes Phase 2. Throughout the system, quantum signals activated sleeper agents planted years ago. Council supply lines suddenly went dark. Communication relays failed. Jump gates used by their reinforcements mysteriously malfunctioned. High Commander Rax felt control of the battle slipping away. His mighty fleet was being dismantled by an enemy he had gravely underestimated. The humans weren't just fighting back, they were systematically destroying the carefully maintained infrastructure that had kept the Council in power for millennia. "Send the signal," he finally ordered. "Pull all forces back to defensive positions. We need to regroup." But retreat wouldn't be so easy. The Terran fleet had positioned itself perfectly, cutting off escape routes. More nanobots swarmed through space, turning ship after ship into dead metal or unwilling allies. As the battle drew to a close, Admiral Stone sent one final message to the Council forces: "This is only the beginning. You gave us an ultimatum, expecting submission. Instead, you'll get revolution. Every species you've oppressed, every civilization you've controlled, they're about to see that the Council isn't invincible." The aftermath of the Battle of Alpha Centauri sent shockwaves through the galaxy. 1/3 of the Council's invasion fleet was destroyed. Another third had been captured and converted by Project Phoenix. The remaining ships retreated in disarray, leaving behind the broken pieces of the Council's reputation for invincibility. But both Admiral Stone and President Garcia knew this was just the first clash in a longer war. The Council would return, and next time they would be better prepared. Yet for the first time in their long history, they would fight with fear in their hearts, fear of the species they had dismissed as primitive, fear of humanity's remarkable ability to innovate and adapt. The galaxy was about to learn why you should never underestimate humans. The grand chamber of the Galactic Council erupted in chaos. Representatives from 50 alien civilizations shouted and argued, their voices echoing off the crystal walls. At the center of the storm stood High Commander Rax, his silver skin now dulled with shame as he delivered his report on the Alpha Centauri disaster. "These humans," he said, his voice heavy with defeat, "they are unlike anything we've faced in 10,000 years. They turned our own ships against us. They knew our weaknesses before we even arrived." The council leader, an ancient being named Thex, raised his hand for silence. "In all our history, no species has dared to challenge us so boldly. Now reports are coming in from across the galaxy. 3 of our subject worlds have declared independence. 2 more threaten rebellion. On one of those worlds, a small planet called Durax, the news of humanity's victory had sparked a revolution. The reptilian Duraxians had lived under council rule for thousands of years, forced to mine precious metals for their overlords. Now they looked to the stars with hope in their eyes. Back on Earth, Admiral Stone received their message. "The Duraxian people request an alliance with the Terran Empire," he read to President Garcia. "They offer their knowledge of council supply routes and defensive positions in exchange for our protection." President Garcia studied the holographic map showing the positions of council forces regrouping across the galaxy. "If we help them, we'll be fighting a war on multiple fronts." "Exactly what we planned for," Stone replied with a confident smile. "Project Phoenix was just the beginning. Let me show you Project Atlas." Deep beneath the surface of Mars, in a facility unknown even to most of Earth's military, Stone and Garcia stood before a massive hangar. Inside, engineers worked on something that would change the nature of space warfare forever. "The Council thinks size equals power," Stone explained. "Their ships are massive because that's all they know. But we thought differently. What if we could fold space itself?" The prototype before them looked deceptively simple, a sleek ship barely larger than an old Earth destroyer. But its hull contained technology that even most humans didn't understand yet. "Atlas can create artificial wormholes," Stone continued. "We can move entire fleets across the galaxy in seconds, appearing anywhere, anytime. The Council won't be able to predict where we'll strike next." President Garcia watched as engineers prepared the ship for its first combat mission. "How many do we have ready?" 5 now. 20 more in production. And with the Duraxians' help, we can build them even faster." The next few days saw humanity's influence spread like wildfire through the galaxy. The Duraxians weren't the only ones inspired by Earth's victory. The amphibian people of Nex Prime, the crystalline beings of the Void Cluster, and even some council member species began reaching out in secret. High Commander Rax, demoted but still useful to the council, watched the reports with growing dread. "They're building a coalition," he warned the council leader. "Every race we ever oppressed sees them as liberators. Then we must strike now," Thex declared, "before they grow too powerful. Summon the Dark Fleet." The Dark Fleet was the Council's greatest secret, 10,000 warships hidden in the space between galaxies, kept in reserve for only the gravest emergencies. In all their history, they had never needed to use it. But even as the Council prepared their ultimate weapon, humanity and their new allies were setting their own plans in motion. The Duraxians shared centuries of intelligence on Council operations. The crystalline beings of the Void Cluster offered their quantum communication technology. And in secret shipyards across human space, more Atlas-class ships took shape. Admiral Stone stood on the bridge of the first Atlas ship, named Humanity's Hope, as it prepared for its maiden voyage. The ship's AI reported that the space-folding drive was ready. "The Council thinks they know what we're capable of," he said to his crew. "They think Project Phoenix was our only surprise. They don't understand that humanity's greatest strength isn't our weapons or our technology. It's our ability to unite people against tyranny. Across the galaxy, former Council subjects rallied to the human banner. Ships of all designs and origins gathered in hidden staging areas. The Council had ruled through fear for 10,000 years, but humanity offered something different: hope. President Garcia addressed the newly formed Alliance of Free Worlds from Earth. Her words were translated into 50 different languages, broadcast to hundreds of worlds. For too long, the Council has claimed that their rule brings stability and peace. But peace without freedom is just another form of prison. Today, we show the galaxy that no power, no matter how ancient or mighty, has the right to deny others their liberty. As she spoke, the first Atlas ships moved into position. The Council's dark fleet emerged from its hidden dimension, ready to crush the human uprising once and for all. But this time, humanity wasn't fighting alone. The next phase of the war was about to begin. The Council was about to learn that they had not just awakened one sleeping giant, they had inspired an entire galaxy to rise up against them. The Dark Fleet emerged from its dimensional pocket like a swarm of metal locusts. 10,000 ships, each larger than anything humanity had ever built, filled the space around the Arcturus system. Their black hulls absorbed all light, making them look like moving holes in space itself. Admiral Stone watched from the bridge of Humanity's Hope as his sensors tracked the massive fleet's movement. Behind him, representatives from 20 different species manned their stations. The Alliance of Free Worlds was about to face its greatest test. "They're spreading out in attack formation," reported Captain Roy Baker, a veteran of the Alpha Centauri battle. "Traditional Council tactics, they're trying to surround us." Stone smiled. "Exactly what we expected. Signal the Atlas fleet. Execute Operation Firebreak." 5 Atlas-class ships, stationed at key points around the system, activated their space-folding drives simultaneously. The fabric of space rippled like disturbed water. Before the Council fleet could react, hundreds of Alliance ships poured through the artificial wormholes, appearing behind and between the Dark Fleet's formations. On his flagship, the Council fleet commander watched in horror as his perfect battle line was suddenly split into isolated groups. Impossible. No one can predict wormhole emergence points with such precision. But humanity had done more than predict, they had mastered space itself. The Alliance fleet struck from all directions, using tactics never seen before in galactic warfare. Duraxian ships, small and agile, darted between the massive Council vessels, their advanced shields designed by human engineers making them nearly impossible to hit. Crystalline ships from the Void Cluster fired quantum disruption beams that shut down Council systems one by one. And through it all, Project Phoenix nanobots swarmed like microscopic predators, turning more and more Council ships against their former masters. Status report. Stone commanded as the battle raged. "Dark Fleet formations are broken," Baker reported. "They're trying to regroup, but our allies are keeping them separated." Duraxian squadrons report 30% of the enemy's communication systems are down. Void cluster attacks have disabled nearly 200 of their capital ships. But the Dark Fleet hadn't survived for 10,000 years by being easy to defeat. Their ships began releasing clouds of anti-nanobot particles, finally finding a counter to Project Phoenix. Massive energy beams sliced through space, destroying dozens of Alliance vessels in single shots. "They're adapting," Stone muttered. Then louder, "Signal all Atlas ships. Begin Phase 2. The space-folding drives activated again, but this time with a different purpose. Instead of creating passages for ships, they began folding space around the Council vessels themselves. Entire sections of the Dark Fleet found themselves suddenly displaced, their carefully planned formations shattered. In the Council flagship, warning alarms blared as ships collided with each other, their navigation systems unable to cope with the constantly shifting space around them. "What is this madness?" the fleet commander roared. How are they controlling space itself? The answer came in the form of another transmission from Stone. You spent 10,000 years thinking you were masters of the galaxy. But you never truly tried to understand it. You relied on brute force while we studied the very fabric of space-time. This is the difference between tyranny and freedom. Innovation thrives when people are free to dream. The battle raged for hours. The Dark Fleet's superior numbers and firepower clashed against humanity's revolutionary technology and the combined tactics of 20 different species. Both sides took heavy losses, space itself becoming a graveyard of broken ships and shattered dreams. But slowly, inevitably, the Alliance gained the upper hand. The Atlas ships continued their space-folding assault, trapping larger and larger sections of the Dark Fleet in pockets of distorted spacetime. The Duraxians and other fast attack squadrons picked off isolated enemy vessels. The Void Cluster's quantum weapons shut down the Council's most powerful weapons. President Garcia, watching from Earth through quantum-linked displays, saw the tide turning. "Send in the reserve fleet," she ordered. "Let's end this." 1,000 more ships, representing every member of the Alliance, jumped into the battle. This final wave struck the already disorganized Dark Fleet like a hammer blow. Council ships began surrendering in groups, their crews realizing that their supposedly invincible fleet was being dismantled before their eyes. The Council fleet commander watched his tactical display turn red with losses and surrenders. For the first time in his long life, he felt fear, not just for himself, but for the entire order his civilization had built. These humans and their allies weren't just winning a battle, they were reshaping the very nature of warfare and power in the galaxy. "Signal the retreat," he finally ordered, his voice heavy with defeat. All remaining ships, emergency jump to fallback coordinates. But even retreat wasn't simple. The Atlas ships had seeded the escape routes with spacetime distortions. Only a third of the remaining Dark Fleet managed to escape. The rest were caught, disabled, or destroyed. As the battle ended, Admiral Stone sent a message to every ship in the Alliance fleet: "Today we proved that the galaxy doesn't belong to those with the biggest ships or the most weapons. It belongs to those who dare to imagine a better future." The Council's Dark Fleet was their ultimate weapon, hidden for 10,000 years. Now it's broken, and with it, their claim to absolute power. The Alliance had won its first major victory. But Stone, Garcia, and every other leader knew this was just the beginning. The Council would not fall easily, and the Dark Fleet was just one of their weapons. The war for freedom would continue, but now the galaxy had hope born from humanity's refusal to submit, and nurtured by the combined strength of 20 different species fighting for their liberty. The great crystal spires of the Council's capital world shimmered in the light of 3 suns. For 10,000 years, these towers had stood as symbols of absolute power. Now they watched their own end approaching. Admiral Stone stood on the bridge of humanity's hope, leading a fleet that would have been impossible just months ago. Ships from 30 different species filled space around the Council capital. The Alliance had grown far beyond its original 20 members as more civilizations witnessed the Dark Fleet's defeat and chose to fight for their freedom. "The Council's response to our demands?" Stone asked his communications officer. "None, sir. They've sealed themselves in their chambers and activated their planetary shields." President Garcia's hologram appeared on the bridge. "They expect us to be as brutal as they were. They don't understand what we're really fighting for." Stone nodded. The Council had ruled through fear for so long they couldn't imagine any other way. But humanity had a different vision for the galaxy. "Launch Operation Daybreak," Stone commanded. Across the system, Atlas ships began their carefully choreographed dance. But instead of creating wormholes for combat, they did something the Council never expected. They began folding space around the planetary shield itself, creating windows through its supposedly impenetrable defense. Through these windows, thousands of small pods descended to the planet's surface. Each contained not weapons, but data crystals and communication devices. The Alliance was broadcasting the truth to every citizen on the Council world, evidence of the Council's lies, proof of their atrocities, and most importantly, an offer of peace. In the Council chambers, the leaders watched in growing panic as their own people began gathering in the streets. Billions of citizens, many seeing the truth for the first time, were demanding answers. "We should release the Omega weapon," one council member suggested desperately. "Better to destroy everything than lose control." But before they could act, a new transmission cut through their chambers. Admiral Stone's image appeared before them, but he wasn't wearing his military uniform. Instead, he wore simple civilian clothes. "You still don't understand," he said calmly. "We're not here to destroy you. We're here to free everyone, including your own people. Look outside. They're not rioting. They're celebrating." It was true. The streets were filled not with violence, but with something the Council feared even more: hope. Species that had been enemies under Council rule were meeting in peace, sharing stories, discovering they had been lied to for generations. Through the quantum communication network developed by the Void Cluster, similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy. On thousands of worlds, people were learning the truth and choosing their own path forward. President Garcia addressed the Council directly. "For 10,000 years, you claimed that strict control was necessary to prevent chaos. But look at your people now. They're choosing peace on their own. They're choosing cooperation. They never needed your iron fist, they just needed the freedom to choose." The Council leader, Thex, watched as everything he had believed in crumbled around him. "And what will you do with us?" he asked, expecting execution or imprisonment. "We're offering you the same choice everyone else has," Stone replied. "Join the new Galactic Alliance as equals, not rulers. Help us build something better than an empire. Your knowledge and experience could help prevent the mistakes of the past, if you choose to use it wisely." The revolution that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Not a revolution of violence and revenge, but one of truth and reconciliation. The Council's power structure dissolved not through force, but through the simple exposure of truth and the offer of a better way. Some Council members chose exile, unable to accept the new reality. But others, including some of their best scientists and scholars, joined the Alliance. They found that sharing knowledge freely, without the constraints of political control, led to innovations they had never dreamed possible. 3 months after Operation Daybreak, representatives from over 100 species gathered in the former Council chambers to sign the Charter of the Galactic Alliance. Its first article, proposed by humanity but embraced by all, read, "No species, no civilization, and no power has the right to deny freedom to others. We stand together not through force or fear, but through choice and mutual respect." Admiral Stone watched the signing ceremony from orbit, standing with his mixed crew of humans and aliens who had become more than comrades. They were the first citizens of a truly united galaxy. "Did you ever imagine this when you sent that one-word response to their ultimatum?" President Garcia asked him. Stone smiled, remembering that simple "no" that had started everything. "I knew humanity wouldn't bow to tyrants. But this?" He gestured to the scene below, where former enemies were working together to build something new. "This is better than anything we could have imagined." The former Council worlds were transformed into centers of learning and cooperation. The Dark Fleet's surviving ships were converted into exploration vessels, seeking new civilizations to invite into the Alliance rather than conquer. Project Phoenix's nanobots were reprogrammed to help terraform worlds and build new homes for refugees from war-torn systems. And humanity? They had proven themselves not just capable warriors, but wise leaders who understood that true power comes not from control, but from giving others the freedom to choose their own path. A year after the Council's fall, a new monument was unveiled in Earth's capital. It showed not a scene of military victory, but a simple handshake between two different species. The inscription read, "To the galaxy we dreamed of, and the one we built together." The Council's ultimatum had failed, but in that failure, something far greater had been born. A galaxy where innovation flourished, where different species worked together by choice, and where the only limits were the ones they chose for themselves. The stars had never shined brighter.